zeros, ones, and twos. Two quick weather notes here. The cyclones north of Australia have islands north of them, of course. They are taking the convergence lines and lots of flooding. For those waiting for the cold snap in the United States, for us in Colorado, it begins today and tonight as that bend on the jet stream is already freight training southward. Will then sweep eastward to bring the cold snap I'm sure your local weather birds have been chirping about. Someone asked about Comet Atlas yesterday in the comments, and I realized it's been 4 years since we noted its discovery. It is much like Comet Elenin in its coming in from afar, also like Ison and Siding Spring if you'll recall. There is not much scary about this one as it will miss all the planets and the sun by tens of millions of miles, and unlike Elenin, it is not coming in on the equator of the solar system, but has a much more inclined orbit. It does cross the solar system equator near perihelion on May 31st of this year. Folks, this conformational study has been awaited anxiously by many ever since NASA first announced in 2013. They suspected whale beachings were related to solar storms. Correlations are even better than they imagined. They describe it as a similar magneto-navigational interference to the radio blackouts that occur with solar flares. When those ionize the top of the atmosphere, certain radio comms are impossible, and it turns out it's a similar sensory interference with the whale's ability to monitor Earth's magnetic field in strong storm condition, leading to their beachings. Top marks for this group. Up next, they have a great summary of the Mars discoveries by InSight, and it has been an incredible year. One of my favorites was how Mars seismicity was surging, and they couldn't figure out why. We had suggested that perhaps it's undergoing a magnetic change just like Earth is, given the electromagnetic pre-seismic anomalies identified in the journals for this planet. But the most important discovery came yesterday, and it was that Mars crustal magnetism is 10 times stronger than they thought it was. This is big news, not only because it changes the habitability profile of various parts of the red planet, but because the explanation of how that field is so strong and how it stays that way is basically the Mars version of the solar climate forcing pathway through the atmosphere that has been stiff-armed out of earthly climate science for 40 years. Electrodynamic coupling from space to the surface. Of course, there is always the possibility that they were not 10 times off in the field strength, and Mars magnetism is actually changing rapidly as we had suggested, which would also explain the earthquake mystery. By the way, that's not the coincidence we mentioned at the beginning. We'll be coming back to that in a minute. This is just a fun thought, and also a good moment to mention that we